Well, folks, in today's video, we're going to be unboxing a massive lot of HO scale locomotives I picked up from across the pond. I found this while I was just browsing eBay a couple months ago, and it looked like it had some great engines in it, so I decided to order it up. And I've got to say, this might be the strangest box which has ever showed up on the channel. I'm sure there's some modern architects out there taking notes with this whole design right here, and it even says scrap on the side, so you know it's going to be good. Anyway, I'm not sure what order would be best for opening up this box, but I guess we'll just start cutting into the whole Toblerone right here and see how all this stuff looks in person. It's like opening some kind of deranged mailbox, isn't it? And, well, right off the bat, we seem to have some sort of a Coco electric diesel mainline locomotive, class 58. We'll have a bit of a closer look at that quickly. You just gotta love the vintage box artwork. The whole speeding train setup with this boilerplate just looks terrific. You can definitely tell that it does date back a bit since this was still made in England, but let's have a look at what the engine itself looks like. This mainline logo right here looks absolutely awesome. You can see that those gears are just completely freewheeling, so I don't know if somebody tried to convert this into a dummy or what the heck is going on right here, but overall an interesting addition to the collection. Let's see what else is inside here. Got a second boxed one right here. I think this one's a steam engine. There isn't a whole lot on the box, although we do appear to have an original store sticker from Gamley's. I really love finding stickers like this because it really does tell a little bit of the locomotive story. It is one of their drives which actually has the power plant in the locomotive instead of the tender, which is something that I really like. And I mean, that gear hardly has any wear, so I'm not sure how much running time this locomotive saw. Overall, not a bad model. Now, I think that's it for the Toblerone, so we'll work our way down to the bottom layer here. I think this right here is where we're going to find some really exciting stuff. I believe there's actually a double-decker streetcar in here and some other kind of unusual things. Look at this. Gotta just love the vintage packaging. I've never heard of Wren before. I'm guessing that this is probably from about the 1960s, just based off the aesthetics, but I don't really know anything about it. We'll see what we have here. Oh. I'm pretty sure I actually worked on this exact kind of locomotive about a year ago in some lot, and originally this ran on 3-rail DC track, but I'm not seeing any contact shoe. I'm not sure if somebody tried to create that here, but hopefully somebody's converted it over just to run on 2-rail DC, because it would be nice to run one of these on my layout. But either way, cosmetically, this thing seems to be in pretty good shape, and since I've already worked on one of these things, if it needs any repairs, it should be fairly straightforward. Got some diagram for track coupling system. Read carefully and keep in a safe place. Well, in the safe it goes. Let's see what's in here. I think it could be that trolley. It is! And it's falling apart. Oh no. So, it didn't look like this in the eBay listing, so I think unfortunately this box must have got bumped. Looks like there actually is maybe a lighting system in the roof, though. That's kind of unique. I think that this either was built out of a kit or possibly scratch built, but it looks absolutely beautiful. Got some sort of a vintage Scotch ad on the side there, and another one for Schweppes. It's too bad that it arrived like this, but I think it is going to make for a really fun project at some point up the road. Anyway, moving on. And this one's a Lima. Not too sure what's going on with that. Overall, it really doesn't look to be in horrible shape, though. Very classic. I already have one of these models, although it doesn't run the greatest. The motor's pretty tired, so hopefully this one will run a little bit better. Cosmetically, it does appear to have some stainage and stuff. Maybe a little bit of cleaning will be able to get that out. Yeah, I could definitely use a little bit of help, I think, on the rotation side as well, but overall, I think that this should be a fun one to test out. Some sort of passenger car. Not much to say about it other than this one lone passenger just cruising along inside. Let's see if we got some more engines in here. Oh yeah, look at this. Looks like the plastic has either warped or there was something that melted it right there. That's a little bit strange. This one definitely saw a lot of play just judging by the wheels. But hopefully we can get this thing working because I really don't have anything quite like this in the collection. Oh man, yeah, I don't think this looked at all like that in the eBay listing. This box just had to have been dropped. There's so much damage to this, and possibly some backlog maintenance. Oh my goodness, look at that. This is definitely going to give my experience fixing up engines a run for its money. I'm really hoping that the rest of them towards the bottom aren't all looking like that. It's just the risk every time you buy something off eBay. Sometimes it's not even bad when it leaves whoever's selling its place, and then you get this stuff and, you know, it's just been smashed up by transit. Now, this is one thing that is really interesting about this listing is this lone American locomotive. Somebody really went wild with the weathering on this one, and I suspect it also has some genuine wear on it as well, but it is an old Athearn, so I think that this should be pretty easy to fix up if it needs any repairs. It is kind of strange finding a random American engine in a lot that's mostly British. If this engine could talk, I'm sure it would have some stories to tell. Looks like even the Athearn did take a little bit of a bump in transit though. This might be an engine. That's another Intercity 125, and it is another powered model. That's good to see right there. This one seems to be in very similar condition, both mechanically and cosmetically. I'm sure with a little bit of cleaning and relubrication, we'll have this thing up and running in no time. Now here we seem to have some kind of locomotive. It almost looks like a Trix engine. Yeah, lo and behold, it is a Trix twin railway locomotive. Now, I'm not sure if somebody has converted this over to DC, because you can see we've got some wipers there instead of the contacts that typically would spring out of both sides. So that might be a good sign. If somebody's converted this thing, that would be absolutely terrific. And yeah, I've got a slightly different system in the tender as well. We actually have wipers instead of the contacts that usually stick out. But overall, this actually looks like a pretty decent locomotive, despite it missing paint in quite a few areas. I'm very excited to test this thing out. I think it's going to be kind of a wild card since it looks like somebody's already been doing all kinds of work on it, and that's always what makes these things really exciting when you don't know what you're getting into. And then I think we have another diesel electric of some sort. Yet another Intercity 125, and this one actually appears to have pretty good paint, although we are missing the headlights. Other than that, it seems pretty good. It's another powered model. I'm under the impression that maybe this one didn't see as many hours as the other two, although there is a fair bit of wear on those wheels, so I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that. I suspect this right here is some kind of a steam locomotive, and sure enough it is, and it's another Hornby 3-rail locomotive. I can tell that this has not run in a while, but oh yeah, it's starting to free up. It's not too bad. Overall, it looks pretty solid. I bet with a bit of fresh oil, this thing would start right up. Hornby tender drive. Oh yeah, look at that. We got another steam engine of some sort. This is really unusual. Look at that. I think this one right here is made by Hornby. Gonna be really curious to see if this thing starts. To me, it looks like there is some damage right there, so I really don't know what to expect with this thing, but yeah, it's gonna be another fun wild card. Now, we seem to be down to just this package of, I think, mostly just parts. I'll tear it open and have a quick look here. I think this might just be like a scrapyard of parts. Let's have a closer look. I'm quite excited to see what exactly we've got in terms of spare parts. There looks to be a lot of goodies in here. Oh wow, look at that. We look to have like an 040 frame. Just what the heck? That's a funny looking motor right there. I haven't seen one like that before. And seemingly it doesn't connect to the gearbox in any way. I'm guessing that there's something missing there. And then we just got a little drive system right here. I think it's Hornby trying. Actually looks like somebody might have replaced the gears on that. Those look fairly modern compared to the rest of the drive. And I think this is a Lima motor. This could be very helpful in terms of parts for some of the engines in this exact lot. This actually looks to be some kind of a hand crafted drive right here. There could be some useful parts in that. But I think that this is a Hornby 3-rail drive, another Lima drive, and then I think the rest of this is really just, you know, those pancake motors. Really nothing all that special, so we'll just put that off to the side, but there's a lot of potentially useful parts in here, so I'm very happy about that. Anyway, with all the locomotives out of the box, why don't we take all this stuff over to the track and see if any of these things will run. So I've got all the locomotives all ready to go for testing here, and I've roughly organized everything from smallest to largest, so we're just going to start on this side and kind of work our way through and see what we've got here. Starting with the trolley, which has the roof delete. I just decided to pull the rest of that off just so we could test it out here, and I'm really not sure what to expect. It does look like there was some good craftsmanship put into this thing at one point, but we'll get it set up on the track and see if we can get it moving here. Apply 12 volts of power. And so far I'm not seeing any current draw. Let's try moving it here. And unfortunately we seem to have a short circuit with this one, so I don't think that that is going to run. There's probably an issue with one of those contacts touching the metal frame. I'll move on to this very unusual wheel configuration. I really hope this thing will start. It definitely looks a little bit more promising compared to some of these other locomotives. Let's test it out here. Fortunately, this thing just doesn't have any current draw whatsoever, so it clearly has some kind of an electrical issue. It could be as simple as a broken wire, but we'll have to take it apart at some point and find out exactly what's going on with it. And now we'll test out this other kind of unusual configuration right here. Now, this one is supposed to run on 3-rail, so I'm going to get some alligator clips, and we're going to test it out that way. Despite being 3-rail, this particular engine does run on DC power, so we should be good to go in that regard. Question I have is whether or not the motor and everything else is actually good inside this. So far I'm not seeing any current draw, and this one as well unfortunately does not seem to want to pick up any power. So not so much luck with the first three, but we'll move on to something a little bit more familiar, and I have a better feeling about this one just because it's an Athearn blue box. And absolutely nothing. That's not good. Ha! There we go. Just quickly threw the shell back on this thing, and I've got to say I'm very impressed by just how well it's running. I really figured this thing probably had some tricks up its sleeve, because Athearns tend to be very tough locomotives. Their only Achilles heel is those motor mounts, which cause them to somehow bump out of place. So at least we've got one runner out of this lot, but I have to say, considering that we had to do some work on this thing, and these other three didn't work, I'm really concerned that somebody did their due diligence and actually tested these all very well, and that maybe every single one of them has problems. Hopefully I'm wrong, because this next one is a Lima, and these do tend to be pretty tough. Let's cross our fingers. And just as before, absolutely nothing. Let's try moving it on the track. Sometimes if you just, kind of turn these things over, you can get them running. Just by the way this thing is rolling on the track, I'm pretty sure that we're missing our brush springs in there. Next up, we've got another Hornby 3-rail locomotive, which I think somebody might have tried to convert over to 2-rail. Really not so sure about it, but let's give it a chance here. And there's smoke already coming from the motor. Let's see if a little bit of oil can get this all turning again. I'm gonna get this thing moving, whether it likes it or not. Oh! Okay, we're getting somewhere. Yeah, it's starting to pull through it. If it makes it around for a lap, I'll be happy. And that right there is good enough for me. I really knew this thing had it in it, just needed a little bit of prodding and some fresh oil. And it is interesting to see that somebody successfully converted one of these things from a 3-rail locomotive into a 2-rail. So, at least we have a couple successes. Now on to the Intercity 125s. Now, given what we've seen with some of the other locomotives, I'm not too optimistic. Usually I would be, because I find these old Hornby Ringfield motors are fairly tough. Well, let's give it a chance here. Once again, no current draw. Surprise, surprise. And just as before, I think we're missing brush springs, so we'll just put that one back and move on to another one here. Let's hope for 3 times the charm with this one. We're not seized up. It also doesn't feel too loose, so hopefully this will be the good egg. And nothing. Starting to feel like these things are kind of notorious for having electrical gremlins. And now it's shorting. Yeah, I think at some point the wheels popped out of this and somebody put them in the wrong way. Oh yeah. And just like that, I got the sassy thing running. It still doesn't sound super healthy, but at least we've got one runner out of the 3, and that's good enough for today. Anyway, I think we'll move on to the Trix Twin Railway locomotive. Let's see what you got. Oh, I saw something there. That one's going to need some work. Hopefully we can get it running again at some point, but it's definitely not going to be today, that's for sure. Now this next one right here really speaks volumes in terms of how it's been treated, but I want to give the drive a chance and just see if that shows any signs of life, because it does appear to all be connected still. And we'll just disconnect the other motor because we don't seem to have any brushes on that side, so I think this is our best chance of getting anything out of this engine. Oh, yeah. I think we're starting to get somewhere with this. Oh, yeah. Come on, yeah. There we go. It's only running on 2 wheels, but that's okay. It's doing it. Bet a lot of people thought they'd never see this thing run again. I'm one of them. Now onto the mainline engine, and as I said before, the wheels are completely loose. I don't really sense any gearing in it. At least try giving it some power and just see what it will do here. And yeah, I mean, just as expected. You can definitely hear a motor running in there, but that power is not making its way down to the track. We'll have to crack it open at some point in the future and see if we can fix it, because I do think it would be a very unique engine to add to the collection, provided we can get it working again. Now we have this very sort of unusual passenger engine. I don't know if this is supposed to be a powered locomotive or not, or if you're supposed to put it with a full train with a full loco on the end, but either way, this does have a power truck in it, so we'll test it out here. And so far, I'm not seeing any current draw. I wonder if the fact that this locomotive doesn't run and that the motor doesn't work is related to the fact that the shell is completely warped. Who knows? And finally, we have the locomotive. I think I'm probably most optimistic about starting. It definitely appears to be in the best condition out of everything. No obvious signs of a problem, at least cosmetically, looking at the wheels and so on. But then again, all the others have had issues, so should we expect the same for it? And it has a short circuit. That's kind of mysterious. Oh, there's smoke coming from it. I don't know if I've ever bought a lot of HO scale locomotives that had so many duds in it. Like usually, you know, you have a few, but almost every single one of these things has just not wanted to go out of the gate. So the smoke is not coming from the motor. Something's having a little campfire towards the bottom here. I just kind of renegotiated the contacts so that they're actually touching the wheels and not the frame. Hopefully that will fix it. Oh. Yeah, there we go. Well, for a moment. Yeah, there we go. Well, it sure seems to be running pretty well now. I've got to say I'm glad that we were able to get at least a few runners out of this lot. I was quite surprised by just how many of these things didn't want to start right out of the box. It's pretty normal for there to be some that kind of stutter and stuff like that, but this is, I think, the first time I've ever seen a lot where every single one of them did not run right away. And granted, we were able to get a few of them going with pretty minimal effort, but this lot is sort of a first of its kind, where every single one of them is and was a project. And it's no big deal, as a lot of you who follow this channel know, I love working on engines that are broken down. And in this case, we've got plenty of spare parts that came with these locomotives, so I don't think these are in any way hopeless, just a little bit more effort than I was personally anticipating. But there's going to be some pretty interesting projects up the road, so stay tuned for that. And until then, I just want to thank you all so much for watching.